Hello and welcome to This Date in History, aka TDH. This show is all about the events that occurred today in years past, both recognized by actual historians, but mainly things I personally find intriguing enough for me to bring to you. The source of this information comes from the smart device application On This Day, the icon of which is shown as cutout prevention at the beginning and end of each episode. The music in the background is Out Here by Kasger, which I found on the YouTube channel No Copyright Sounds, aka NCS. For links to the app, music, and anything else potentially interesting, check the underbar. Now let's get on with the show, shall we? Today is Wednesday, aka Wednesday, July 20th, 2016. In 2015, the United States and Cuba resumed full diplomatic relations after 5 decades. In 2012, James Holmes opened fire at a movie theater in Aurora, Colorado, murdering 12 and injuring 70 others. In 1999, the Chinese Communist Party began a prosecution campaign against Falun Gong, arresting thousands nationwide. In 1997, the fully restored USS Constitution, aka Old Ironsides, celebrated its 200th birthday by setting sail for the first time in 116 years. In 1989, Burma's ruling junta put opposition leader Daw Aung San Suu Kyi under house arrest. In 1985, the government of Aruba passed legislation to secede from the Netherlands Antilles. In 1977, the Central Intelligence Agency, aka CIA, released documents under the Freedom of Information Act revealing it had engaged in mind control experiments. You really think that act forced them to do that? No. They released that to induce fear, panic, and oppression to the masses, using the act as a convenient way to do so. In 1976, the US Viking 1 landed successfully on Mars. In 1969, a ceasefire was announced between Honduras and El Salvador, 6 days after the beginning of the Football War. Also in 1969, during the Apollo program, Apollo 11's crew successfully made the first manned landing on the moon in the Sea of Tranquility. United Statians Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first humans to walk on the moon. In 1968, the first International Special Olympics Summer Games were held at Soldier Field in Chicago, with about 1,000 athletes with mental disabilities. In 1964, during the Vietnam conflict, Viet Cong forces attacked the capital of Dinh Truong Province, C.I.A, murdering 11 South Vietnamese military personnel and 40 civilians, 30 of which were children. In 1960, the Polaris missile was successfully launched from a submarine, which was the USS George Washington, for the first time. Also in 1960, Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, elected Sirimavo Bandaranaike as Prime Minister, becoming the world's first elected female head of state. In 1944, during World War II, Adolf Hitler survived an assassination attempt led by German Army Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg. In 1940, California opened its first freeway, the Ariel Seco Parkway. Also in 1940, Denmark left the League of Nations. In 1938, the United States Department of Justice filed suit in New York City against the motion picture industry, charging violations of the Sherman Antitrust Act in regards to the studio system. The case would eventually result in a breakup of the industry in 1948. In 1936, the Montreux Convention was signed in Switzerland, authorizing Turkey to fortify the Dardanelles and Bosphorus, but guaranteeing free passage to ships of all nations in peacetime. In 1934, during the West Coast waterfront strike in Seattle, Governor of Oregon called out the National Guard to break a strike on the Portland docks, causing police to fire tear gas on and club 2,000 striking longshoremen. Also in 1934, police in Minneapolis fired upon striking truck drivers during the Minneapolis Teamsters strike of 1934, murdering 2 and wounding 67. In 1932, in Washington, D.C., police fired tear gas on World War I veterans who were part of the Bonus Expeditionary Force while they were attempting to march on the White House. Also in 1932, in the Peru Benchlag, aka Prussian coup, German President Paul von Hindenburg dissolved the government of Prussia. Also in 1922, the League of Nations awarded mandates of Togoland to France and Tanganyika to the United Kingdom. In 1920, the Greek army took control of Silivri after Greece was awarded the city by the Paris Peace Conference. However, by 1923, Greece effectively lost control of the area to the Turks. In 1917, during World War I, the Corfu Declaration, which led to the creation of the post-war Kingdom of Yugoslavia, was signed by the Yugoslav Committee and Kingdom of Serbia. In 1903, the Ford Motor Company shipped its first car. In 1885, the Football Association legalized professionalism under pressure from the British Football Association. In 1871, British Columbia joined the Confederation of Canada. In 1848, the first Women's Rights Convention concluded. It occurred in Seneca Falls, New York, and it was a 2-day event. Now, take a look at them. Take a long look. Are they dressed in nothing but pasties and G-strings? No. Why is that? Because women of yonder year had something called self-respect and dignity. In 1810, citizens of Bogota, New Granada, declared independence from Spain. In 1807, Nick Ford Nippes was awarded a patent by Napoleon for the Pirate Loafer, the world's first internal combustion engine, after it successfully powered a boat upstream on the River Saône in France. In 1799, Tekle Giyorgis I began his first of 6 reigns as Emperor of Ethiopia. And in 1592, during the first Japanese invasion of Korea, Japanese forces led by Toyotomi Hideyoshi captured Pyongyang, but were ultimately unable to hold it. Birth: Sandra Oh, 1971. Billy Mays, 1958. Alexander the Great, 356 BC. And that concludes the show. Once again, check the underbar for any links you may be interested. Don't forget to rate 5 thumbs and subscribe for your dose of Past Events Daily. I am Alexander, and you are you. Toodles!